Happy New Year's, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday Night Musical Osmosis, where intelligent dissonant thought meets melodic euphonious reality. I am your musically magnanimous host, Nick the Saucy One Catsaurus, broadcasting to you live from the shadow of Hurricane Mountain here in Tennessee. And I also want to introduce my percussively proficient co-host, a man calling in all the way from Charm City, my pal Odell Norman. Happy New Year's, bro.
You too, man. You too. You too, D. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, as always, back there making sure things don't get too fucked up is D, the producer.
Yeah.
So, why don't you tell everybody what we got coming up on the show, Mrs. D?
Okie dokie.
And then we can kind of get to it because we've got a big night tonight. Let me turn off the music because when I was doing the intro, I felt like my words, my cadence was hitting every note with the Dead Milkmen song.
No, not really.
I know.
So, not next Wednesday. We're off for a few days because we like to get really, really drunk for the New Year. No, I'm just kidding. But next Friday, January 8th, as well as on the 10th on Kettle of Fish, we are going to have comedian Matt Geiler, super funny guy. And then on the Ignorance Equation, Sunday the 10th, we are having the super duper awesome Chuck from Chuck and Bob, Mr. Jay Johnson, who is just absolutely amazing. And then on that Wednesday, that'll be the 13th, we will be back with Musical Osmosis with Songhammer. And we're going to have Ben Stewart from that, also known as Shredhammer. And, yeah. And then we are going to have, on the 27th, we are going to have Stevie E. Nicks from The Briefs, and that's going to be super duper cool. And I almost forgot, this coming Sunday, we actually are going to have just an hour-long show. We're going to do that at noon this week. So a little bit different than normal. Of course, we're going to touch on Cosby and some other things that are going on. And then February 7th, yeah.
No pun intended.
Oh, that was bad, wasn't it? I was just walking right into that shit.
Touched on many others.
Sorry.
I walked right into it.
So here's the reason. We weren't going to do a show Sunday because it's the second. We figured everybody would be hungover. However, as Odell can attest to as well, I started writing for a new site called If You Only News, and I was starting getting some criticism from my co-host, Dwayne, that now that I'm writing for a site that mainly has a left-leaning voice, that I'm not staying true to the Ignorance Equation brand and mission statement. So we got into this big discussion about it. I could see his points, he can see my points, but I started thinking about, and I'm going to put a survey question out about this, about is there something like a Cosby can do where you would stop watching reruns of the Cosby Show or stop eating Jell-O pudding or whatever? And Odell, you've seen the stuff I've been writing. Does this, do I get to have an identity separate from my radio persona? Or does everything have to line up? Am I allowed to go and do this other thing and be separate from it? Or if somebody goes, I won't listen to the Ignorance Equation because you do a show with punk bands and I hate punk. Like, do I have to just be one thing? I don't understand this point of view.
No, not at all, man. That's the beauty of individuality, man. You're diverse, and that's good. You know, usually people with open minds are pretty diverse in what they think and do.
Not a lot of creative Nazis out there.
No,
not too many.
Hitler failed as an artist.
Such as it is.
He probably wasn't very open-minded. But the point is I wanted to do that, and with the thing that happened with Cosby today getting indicted, I was like, well, this will be perfect because I can tie it into Cosby. We'll do a 1-hour show and kind of ask. And let me ask you, Odell, since you won't be on Sunday, is there anything that a musician or an actor could do where you would stop enjoying their product, stop listening to their music, stop watching their movies? Or is that totally, in your mind, separate from being able to enjoy their creative art or outlet or whatever?
No, and I think since, having kids is definitely, I don't know if it's changed my mentality, but I feel more affection toward when I see things that happen to kids, like, like, for example, when they keep showing, they show images of kids and struggles or kids, dead somewhere and stuff. Automatically I start thinking of my kids. So, like, if I know an artist or whatever, like molesting children or child porn or any of that stuff, I'm like, okay, we're done. It's a wrap.
Does that end Subway with the whole Jared fiasco?
Well, that. I mean, Jared wasn't making my sandwiches, and I wasn't really going to Subway because I saw Jared, holding his big pants up, and stuff. I just went to Subway well before then. Now, Subway, on the other hand, they're probably like, oh, man, okay, great, this guy.
Oh, yeah. Especially all the money they sunk into him, and for him to come out with the worst possible scandal.
Oh, that, and then just the stuff that he was saying, man, it was just like, oh, my gosh, dude. Oh.
Yeah, I wouldn't listen to the audio. I saw links to it, and I just, like you said, I have kids now, and I just can't stomach even imagining what was being said, so I couldn't even listen to it.
So, but with, Cosby, it's still one of those things, it's like, it's so tough, man, because he was embedded in my mind from such a young age with, Fat Albert. People forget about Fat Albert, and then, of course, the Cosby Show was...
Didn't he do Reading Rainbow or something like that? One of those type of shows?
No, that's...
he did...
that's the dude from Star Trek.
That's what it was called.
LeVar Burton. Yeah, he did Picture... Yeah, with the pen. So, I mean, he and then his involvement just in the whole... Especially in the African-American community, just the fact that, I have a lot of friends that are, especially when I moved up here to Baltimore City, there's a lot of young people that, their father was Bill Cosby. They didn't have a dad, so they watched the Cosby Show, and Bill Cosby was their dad for in a sense. And it's just like, man, to know that at least the possibility, and he's admitted to some of the stuff already, that it's like, it just throws me for a loop. Like, Linus's one of his favorite shows was Little Bill. I can't watch that anymore. There's Bill Cosby standing there. I'm like, man, this dude's drugging women. So it's like, it's just tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, and we're going to go in depth. I got a lot of questions Sunday to ask about this whole Cosby thing. I want to hit on something else too before we get Joe in here. Of course, tonight we're having Joe Jack Talcum from the Dead Milkmen on the show. I'm super excited to talk to him, but let me touch on this first. Oh, and another thing I wanted to tell you last show, you are no longer known as new co-host Adele. You are officially co-host Adele. How do you feel? You're here to stay.
Yes, I like it.
I even went back and changed the picture and took out the new co-host and just put co-host Adele.
No, like I said before, man, I appreciate you and Dee asking me to do this, and it's been a blast. I absolutely love it. I've always loved music, and this just gets to, it's not every day I get to leave work and say, hey, I'm getting ready to interview, Joe Genaro from Dead Milkmen. I'm saying that on my way home. I'm like, wow, so. It's really
I didn't know what to call him because publicly he's doing the whole Joe Jack Talcum thing, but Joe Genaro is what's on the actual albums. So I was like, okay, is this solo identity different or separate from the actual Dead Milkman identity I know him from? But we'll get into all that. Anyways, let's touch on this because we got like 5 minutes. Monday, right? Yeah, Monday the 28th. Lemmy, and of course everybody knows this, Lemmy from Motorhead passed away. I want to kick some Lemmy facts and some Lemmy quotes and stuff. But first, I want to say this because this is bizarre to me, and I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks this is bizarre. Lemmy got diagnosed on the 26th with cancer, and I didn't see exactly what type of cancer, so maybe that has something to do with it. But he got diagnosed with cancer on the 26th. He was given 4 to 6 months to live, and then he died the 28th. And we also have a friend whose stepfather got diagnosed with cancer like on a Tuesday and was dead on Friday. It is absolutely mind-boggling to me. You could be so cancer-ridden that you're that close to death and not fucking know it. How do you not know you have that much cancer in your body?
Yeah, it's one of those things, too. He had been sick for a while. So it wasn't like this was a new thing, because he had canceled, Motorhead had canceled a bunch of shows earlier this year because he had fallen ill. And, so when I found out that it was cancer, a couple days ago, I was like, wow. A couple months ago he had fallen ill. I thought maybe they had diagnosed it then, but they didn't say it was cancer then. They just said it was just health-related reasons that right now he can't, do the shows. And, you know how musicians are. They vow, they say the right things, basically. We'll come back. We'll be back stronger than ever, and this and that. And,
it was sad watching those Dio interviews where he had cancer, but he had known it for a few months, and he's like, I'm going to beat this, and a month later he was dead. And I was like, man, that is so sad because he had such a positive attitude, and he was like, this is not going to beat me, and then a month later he's dead. I think that is almost more horrible than just getting hit by a truck or something, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, same way with, who was it MCA from Beastie Boys was the same route, the way they, and it's also how you want to put it out there too. They were very they did it more on the positive spin. The Beastie Boys, like, hey, he's gone through surgery. So the way they put it out there, it felt like he was going to get through it, and then all of a sudden it was like, boom, he died, and you're like, whoa, okay, I thought he was getting, I thought he was getting better just from the way they were portraying it, but actually, I guess it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, cancer's a monster, dude. It doesn't care. White, black, rich, poor, boy, girl. Yeah, it does not care, dude. And all the money in the world, it might be able to make you more comfortable, but if that cancer's got you, all the money in the world's not going to save you from it.
Yeah, and it sucks. It sucks. Taking a lot of great people away from you.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, too, before I kick a couple Lemmy facts. Because I had a conversation, I remember a few years, I say a few years because I'm an old man, but it was probably more like 10 years ago when Brad Knoll from Sublime died, and it actually affected me. I was like, wow, like that, I actually feel the impact of Brad Knoll dying. And I had asked my wife at the time if people that she's fans of, people she enjoys what they create, if it affects her, and she said not at all. Like she couldn't care less one way or the other. Is it weird?
Oh, wow.
You guys, you and D, is it weird that if somebody dies that you're a huge fan of, that somebody would just kind of be indifferent to it? Is that weird, or am I just kind of overly emotional?
Everybody's different. I mean, like when, for example, because he was a huge influence on me growing up, when Michael Jackson did die, regardless of what he'd done, he was an amazing artist. And the same way with Heath Ledger, amazing artist. It was just kind of like, oh, that sucks. But then, like, my mom, who was very familiar with Michael Jackson's work from the time she was a kid, she was just like, oh, well, that sucks, oh, well. And I'm just like, but the world is missing this beautiful, beautiful talent. And she's like, yeah, it sucks. People die. So, yeah, it's a little weird. A little bit.
Odell, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I definitely do. I feel more so... I remember when, pretty much everybody probably does when Kurt Cobain passed. I was a huge Nirvana fan. I just saw him in '93 at Catholic University, like that November, right around the time where he first OD'd. Not too long after that, and when he was in Rome, I think it was not too long after. Me and Serge went and saw him, and that hit me hard. Because it's just like, man, all of that talent and
all that
potential. Gone. All that potential. And there's been several artists, and I think it's all in affiliation to how it hits you. So, like, for example, like Michael Jackson was just equally as bad because my childhood, I remember staying up, watching, Friday night videos because they were going to show the Michael Jackson Thriller the whole way through. And I remember my whole family staying up because we wanted to see that. And like when Brad Knoll died, that was another big one because Nick, if I'm not mistaken, we had just saw the Sublime.
Yeah, Capitol
handful of months. Yeah, a handful of months before that. So, Shannon Hoon was another one from Blind Melon that really hit me hard because it was almost like they were just getting there. Like, the one album that broke was really good, but the album that came out after that was phenomenal. Same way with Sublime. The album after, not 40 Ounces of Freedom, but Sublime, I guess the self-titled Sublime album. That album was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And it's like Heath Ledger's the same way. It was like they were just getting there. They were just getting there. And
he had just finished Batman.
That's the kind of luck I have.
And it was just like, oh my God.
I always said if I ever break big, the universe will kill me. And because of the way my life is, the way that I will die will be ridiculous. Like, I'll get hit by a fucking ice cream truck or a bookmobile or something. Like, I'm not going to die like a normal way. I'm going to die in some absurd way, like choking on a chicken McNugget or something, like really bizarre. All right, let me get to these Lemmy facts, because I definitely want to pay tribute to him, because he was a huge, and the funny thing is, and I had Corey on from Warrior Soul last Wednesday, and Warrior Soul was kind of the same way. They were a metal band, but they were a metal band that was absolutely like DRI and suicidal, accepted in the punk community, accepted in the rock community. They crossed genres, and not everyone can do that. I mean, it's a small percentage of bands that can do that, right?
And Lemmy was the first one to tell you, everybody wanted to put him in that heavy metal category, and Lemmy would be the first one to say, we're just a rock and roll band. He's like, you can categorize us as you want, but we are a rock and roll band, and that's how he saw it, So
absolutely,
he was such a cool dude, man. It was just like he was him. He was so honest. He was so cool that people copied him. You know what I mean? If you look at all the artists that came after Metallica, copied him. Motley Crue. I mean, if you listen to any of the music, you're like, man, you know what they did? They put on a Motorhead album, and they were like, we want to sound like that. And Lemmy, to the day he died, was Lemmy. You could not mistake him from anyone. He didn't change the way he looked, his attitude. He was just who he was, and it was awesome.
And that's what works best, is when you're your true self. And I think that's what makes musicians successful. I'll never forget in '94 when the whole Bobbitt thing happened. And I'm not a porn guy, but my buddy, our buddy Pat Sheehan, brought over the Bobbitt porn. And there's a scene where Lorraine Bobbitt cuts off John Bobbitt's penis and throws it out a window. And Lemmy is walking down the street, and he picks up John Bobbitt's penis. It's supposed to be a reenactment. And he goes, what's this, man? It's a penis. Yeah. And, puts it in his pocket. And that was like, wow, like, man, this is great porn television. This is amazing to me. Holy shit.
When I got into the Troma movies, when I started collecting those, one of the reasons why I started collecting them was I watched, I think it was the first one I ever saw besides Toxic Avenger, was Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. And Lemmy's in that. And I'm like, that's freaking Lemmy from Motorhead. Holy crap. And then I got, Terra Firma. He was in that. I'm like, and he was just him. It was Lemmy as Lemmy. And it was so cool.
And I mean, and you can interject him in things, and it was just like, oh, that's Lemmy. Like, there's nobody that's not going to recognize him. Nobody that's not going to know who he is. He resonates with everybody. Even, people, and he's like living art, because different people take different things from Lemmy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so one person might see him as a rebel, another person might see him as a genius, another person might see him as a madman, and everybody's taking something different from that Lemmy experience. And I think that's what makes him stand out as well. Okay, let me kick some facts here. Ian Frazier, Killmister, better known as Lemmy. Odell, do you know why he was nicknamed Lemmy?
No.
He was nicknamed Lemmy because when he was a young boy and panhandling on the streets, he would always say, "Let me get a quid." So they just started calling him Lemmy. True story. Here's one I didn't know. Lemmy was born on Christmas Eve. Did you know that?
Yes, I knew that.
I think we all know he was a roadie for Jimi Hendrix, right?
Oh, yeah.
Guinness Book of World Record, of course, Motorhead, loudest band, broke the world records. And then another thing this reminds me of is I had Lips on the show, not this last time over the Christmas break, but a couple years ago, and he had a chance to play bass for Motorhead. And I was like, you had a chance to play bass for Motorhead?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, dude, if Lemmy called me at 3 a.m. and said, fly to England and mow my lawn, I would fucking do it. How do you say no to Len? I don't even know him. And if he just got my number, it's like, all righty then, I'm going to need you to mow my lawn. All right, I'm on a plane. Fuck it. How do you say no to Lemmy?
And Nick would bring the lawnmower, too. The lawnmower would be right there. And
you'd be like, I will use scissors. Whatever you want, yeah.
Yes, I will give your lawn a manicure like Edward Scissorhands. Yes, Lemmy.
Hey, Nick, I got a quick story for you. You know how Lemmy, he did that side project with Dave Grohl, Probot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wino, who was also in that, he's from the D.C. area. He played in The Hidden Hand with Bruce from Faith. And so one day I actually ran into him and Bruce at Faze, not at Faze, but just out and about. I think they were at Chuck Levin's music store or whatever. And I ran into him, so I was talking to him. And this was not too long after the whole Probot stuff and everything. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I had met Wino before, and he's a really cool dude. And but I was like, I don't think I'm going to ever get a chance to ask, somebody that knows Lemmy one-on-one. So I asked him, I was like, how was it playing with Lemmy? And he was like, you see what you get, man. Yeah, it's like he's the coolest dude in the world, and what you see is him. And I was like, man, that's so. He was like, he could have played all night, and he was like, and he would drink anybody under the table.
That's a given. All right, I don't want to keep Joe holding much longer, so I had a whole bunch of tweets from different artists who tweeted out after his death, and then I had some quotes. I'm just going to do one of each because I got to move the show along. My favorite tweet, though, was the Briggs, the band of Briggs. They had tweeted out, who would win in a fight between Lemmy and God? Trick question. Lemmy is God. And then apropos of all the Lemmy quotes, because I've got Rolling Stone's 17 top Lemmy quotes here, apropos of that is, death isn't inevitable, isn't it? You become more aware of it when you get my age. I don't worry about it. I'm ready for it. When I go, I want to go doing what I did best. If I die tomorrow, I couldn't complain. It's been good. And I think that sums it up right there, right? All right, a bit of business. Spike Polite from the punk band Sewage, actually sent us a flyer, and I was excited because I don't get to check out a lot of new music. I'm an old crotchety man, so I kind of I'm in my little pigeonhole of music, and I was like, who's Sewage? And I had added them afterwards as a friend, and I was like, let me check them out, and I went to YouTube, and I checked out their various videos they had up, and I was like, wow, these guys are really fucking raw. They're really good. They're really intense, and I want to have him on the show, but I told Spike I would give a shout out and read some info. He sent me a flyer for a show, and if you want to read that, let us know what's going on tomorrow night with Sewage.
All right. Now, this is in Brooklyn, so if you are nowhere near Brooklyn like us, you're screwed. But if you are in Brooklyn tomorrow night, especially over by Grand Street at Grand Victory, then you can hang out at Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, the New Year's Eve 2016 party with Sewage, Ted's Dead, The Rats, The Cuts, and The Drugettes. And, of course, there will be Shaw Promotions hanging out with some PBR, and it should be a good time to be had by all.
Yeah, I mean, I've been stupid busy lately, so I didn't have a chance to check out all the bands on the lineup. But I will tell you this, and everybody knows me, I'm not a panderer. I'm not going to say I like something if I don't. If you're in the Brooklyn area, check out Sewage Live if you haven't. Even if you're not into punk, broaden your horizons. Go check this show out if you don't already have plans. You don't want to sit there in the mob at Times Square. Go over to Brooklyn and check out this show.
Absolutely.
All right, so coming on the show is Joe Genaro, a.k.a. Joe Jack Talcum, from the Dead Milkmen. As usual, I always like to do a little setup. I don't have bands on the show that I'm not huge fans of or that I'm not newly turned on to as a fan. So why don't we talk a minute about why we love the Dead Milkmen. I will say, and this is why I said Pickle earlier, because I've had Pickle on my mind. I talked to Pickle yesterday and told him we were having Joe on the show. And you know, Pickle is a Cannibal Corpse loving death metal fanatic.
Iron Maiden Haven't.
Iron Maiden. The latest thing he listens to is Iron Maiden. If you put on Taylor Swift, he'd probably throw up and pass out. He is very heavy into his music. And when I said that, expecting to be like, who the hell's that? Or, oh, that's lame. He was like, oh, man, I remember that video, Punk Rock Girl. I love that band. I love the things. And he'd only had heard a couple things. You know, I'm sure he'd heard Bitch and Camaro and the things we used to play at parties. But even Pickle was like, man, I love the Dead Milkmen. And I didn't have to tell him Punk Rock Girl. Like, he knew it off the top from years ago. What is it about the Dead Milkmen, you think, that it has such a resonance with people? Because it seems like everybody that we told about this show is losing their shit.
Well, I know for me personally, they not that I'm a young person, but they were a little bit older than, you know, when that album, when Punk Rock Girl and all that stuff came out. But I just remember the videos and the imagery of those videos, and then just the tone of Joe's voice captured me. So when I got older and started listening to it, I understood it more because of the things that they were talking about, and they did it in such a way that it was funny to listen, but in all truthness, it was like on point with what was going on at that time, and just the fact that everything about it, like eventually when I went to like Philly and different places up there to see the place, I'm like, wait a minute. That's Zipperhead. That's the Dead Milkmen. I didn't know that was an actual place. That's you know, it was like, so everything that they really talked about or spoke about was actually real. And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, and you know, I always say I'm a fan of the Dead Milkmen, and then I was a little embarrassed because I started digging into Joe's history to prepare for the show, and his career is so can I say so again? So much more than the Dead Milkmen. And I mean, I was like the low budgets. Now I've got a new band to cling on to because I absolutely love that band. And I believe Joe played keyboards on that band, but he's been in so many different projects, and I got to listen to a bit of it here and there. And I was like, wow, man, maybe I'm not the fan I thought I was, because this guy has like his footprint in music and his impact is gigantic, right?
It is. It really is. It really, really is.
All right. Well,
about that.
Yeah, go ahead, though.
No.
I want to get Joe in.
No, yeah, we were just talking about that the other day. I was like, man, I feel guilty.
Yeah, because
there's so much out there.
I was like, we're getting Joe on, and I started popping in the old CDs and stuff and listening, and I was like, let me check out his new stuff, and the new Dead Milkmen, since they came back, I think, in like 2011. That was on my radar, and I was familiar with it. But when I actually dug into his solo stuff and the tape, like the recorded stuff from his house and things like that, I was like, oh, my God, this guy's a genius. They're not just like a band that left a footprint. This guy's a madman. And then it kind of, I had to up my game and like really look into everything. But anyways, without any further ado, Joe, are you with us?
Hello. I think I
Joe.
am.
Hey.
Sir.
Hear me?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, we could hear you. Happy New Year.
I could hear you too. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much for
crazy.
calling in. I mean, but in a good way, you know,
okay.
and a very,
I'll take that.
Yes, a very good madman, like the movie Shine, like a very good madman way. But you know, I want to thank you for calling into the show. I'm sure you heard all the accolades at the beginning.
Yeah.
Huge impact on me and Odell, any musician that was in that genre, but more so when I've never had a fan outburst like I did when I told people you were coming on the show. Like the positive feedback I got, and about people who probably haven't even really had music involved in their life because they got jobs and kids and they're kind of out of listening.
Oh, they're too busy.
Yeah, they were just like, oh my God, I feel like a kid again. I'll definitely be listening. You guys just like, you really struck a chord with people and have a huge cult following.
Yeah. We struck maybe 3 chords. That's about all the chords we know.
Well, there you go. But they were 3 beautiful chords.
They're the best.
3 glorious chords.
That's all you need.
Glorious Milkmen chords. So let me ask you this.
Punk rock.
I want to dig into the Dead Milkmen, and I want to dig into all things Joe Jack Talcum. But just out of personal curiosity, at the beginning of the show, we were talking about the passing of Lemmy from Motorhead. Was Lemmy any kind of an impact on you? How do you feel about his passing?
It's very sad.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's sudden, but I guess he wasn't too well for a while. But yeah, it's very sad. Yeah, I remember I first heard about them when I was in college, and it was Ace of Spades. And yeah, that was a huge, huge song. I think it affected everybody in the world, that song.
Yeah, I mean, that was the party song. I mean, that's how they are primarily probably known. So, yeah, I was just wondering, because, I mean, this was such a big blow, and it seems like more and more artists are passing on, and you just really got to get out there, listen to music, and enjoy it. I think that's why it's important that we get the word out there that, like I said, there's a lot of people who probably don't even enjoy music anymore, and I think that's sad.
Yeah, that is really sad. You're bringing me down.
All right, well, let's liven things up because, like I was saying in the start of the show, you have so many projects. There was a big gap. I think it was a 13-year gap between the Dead Milkmen breaking up and then coming back and doing the reunion tours, and I definitely want to touch on that in a little bit. But you have so many side projects, and I was just kind of wondering, during that 13-year period, were you striving to get back with the Dead Milkmen? Were you like, I'm just completely done? How was it different performing solo? How was it different kind of being in all these different projects? Did you always feel like it's going to eventually, this road will lead me back to Dead Milkmen? Tell me what was going on with you during that time.
I didn't think the Dead Milkmen would get back together, but I'm glad that it happened, but I think I had so many projects because I don't know how to say no. I don't want to say no, and
I'm the same way.
Yeah, until there's absolutely no more time to do anything else. I'm still kind of the same way. I'm in a bunch of bands, and it seems like every minute of free time I have is doing something with music. I don't know if that's just my imagination, but you could say maybe I was spreading myself a little thin there, but I like playing with people. I like playing with people in music. You know,
all right.
I can't understand people who don't like music. It just
we had that.
Go ahead, Adele. We had that the other day, right, Adele?
No, yeah, we were. It's funny you say that, Joe. We were talking about that the other day, like how I know for Nick and myself, we met through mutual friends because we went to see, I think it was the Meatmen, if I'm not mistaken, and it was mutual friends, and we got together, and then basically our whole circle of friends that we have, you know, now we're married with some of them, have kids and it all started with the musical, the music aspect of that, and I do find it weird when people are like, "Oh, I'm not really into that. I just turn on the radio and I'm good with what's on there."
Yeah, that's bizarre to me.
I guess it's because we have music solid in our lives, or we're musicians, or we listen to it critically, so that's probably why. But I'm glad that the Milkmen got back together. For a long time, the Low Budgets were the band that were my solid band that not a band that I really wrote songs for. That was Chris Peelout's band, but we toured all over the place, United States and Europe, and just so happens we got back together just a couple weeks ago for 2 shows.
Wow!
And it was bringing back memories of of the raucous, drunken times we had together back in the 2000s.
Very nice.
Yeah, we played in Philly, a huge show that was just, all kinds of people from the past came back to see it, came out of the woodwork. And then we played in Asbury Park just a couple nights ago.
Well, I gotta say, pretty music for pretty people. I absolutely am in love with this album. I think it's one of the best things you guys have done since maybe the first 2 or 3 albums. You can definitely tell an evolution there. And as I'm listening to this, after seeing everything that you've done separate from Dead Milkmen, I was wondering how much of what you've done separately, how much of that bleeds into getting back with the Dead Milkmen creatively? How do you choose now? If you write something, is it better suited? Does it click better with Dead Milkmen? Does it click better with this other project I'm working on? How do you make those kind of creative choices?
I let the other people help me make them. We kind of, if say Rodney or Dean or Dan like something and wants to work on it, then it can become a Milkman song. If not, then it can be used for other things, or maybe recycled later when on a future Milkman album. Or I could play it solo, or maybe I'll play a song solo and think, hey, this is working out as a good thing. Maybe the Milkmen would want to do it. In fact, Punk Rock Girl, which was a big song for the Milkmen, originally was designed to be a song that not for the Milkmen. It was for a project Dave and I had.
Oh wow!
Called Ornamental Wigwam, which is really obscure, but that was just a thing that we did together. We made a cassette recording and we played just duo with bass and guitar at small bars around Philly. So we played Punk Rock Girl maybe for half a year before it became before we even presented it to the other guys in the Dead Milkmen, because people liked it at our shows, and we thought, hey, maybe this would be a good Dead Milkmen song.
Yeah, I mean, it warmed my friend Pickles' heart, who's a hardcore like Cannibal Corpse fan, and he was like, I love this. So, I mean, it definitely was able to cross over and reach people, and that's what you want to do as an artist, right? You don't want to just pigeonhole yourself to one crowd.
No, you don't. You don't. Otherwise, you'll get sick of yourself.
Yeah, very well stated.
No, I really don't. I just write songs and then see what happens to them.
There you go.
Well, let me ask you about the joejacktalcum.com page then, because when you're doing the recordings out of your house, and I'm going through and I'm listening to this stuff and I'm kind of reading up on everything on that page, do you feel like you have more creative freedom not having like that Damocles sword of production hanging over your head when doing these other projects? Like you could just kind of go here and be free creatively and do whatever you want? Is that like more freeing than writing Dead Milkmen songs?
Well, I don't know about that sword. I don't think I've had many issues with production values in my life.
Right.
You know, if it doesn't... I can have mental blocks when it comes to writing lyrics, and when I get to that stage, then I need help from somebody. I need people to give me ideas, feed me ideas, because when I run out of if I have an idea, I can usually flesh it out.
Right.
So I think of myself more as a collaborator when it comes to really writing songs, complete songs. That's
okay.
What I'm saying.
Very nice. Do you want to steer the ship?
By myself, but I don't like the songs I write by myself when I listen back to them. I might like them while I'm writing them, but then there's always something that pricks me.
When you're collaborating, do you like to steer the ship, or do you like to just throw it out there and then see how it works with everyone else?
Yeah, I'm not much of a ship steerer.
Okay.
I'll let somebody else take care of that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, see where it goes.
Odell, I'm just totally enamored with Joe, so I'm kind of talking right over you. So let me let you take over here for a second.
No, I just know a lot of your songs are related to, where you're from and actually other bands that have influenced you. Can you take us back a little bit into where you're from and how that became so influential in the music that you have written?
Well, I'm from Pennsylvania, the suburbs of Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Music was always in my life from as long as I can remember. Way into records. I kind of wanted to be a songwriter as a kid and ended up being one. My path to that, actually actualizing that, I guess, was learning to play the piano at my parents' house and then getting a guitar, being inspired by whatever records that came my way or that I bought. In junior high school, I got a hold of Bird's 7-inch EP. Really liked it. There's a book I read about them, and I learned that their biggest hits were written by this guy named Bob Dylan. So I got a Bob Dylan record and just totally fell in love because here was a guy with a guitar, just a guitar, harmonica, and singing, and it seemed so powerful to me. I was like 15. And then I was obsessed. I had to get every Bob Dylan album that was out.
Right.
And
that
I was a mega fan. And same with the Beatles. I heard the Beatles from my aunt's record collection, and that I borrowed. And I sort of I started to realize some of these songs I heard on just by random on the radio were Beatles songs. Mm-hmm. And another thing, I had records in my collection that were written by these Lennon, McCartney, and lo and behold, I found out they were in the Beatles. So that was part of my aspiration too, to be something like that, or to find somebody to be my partner of writing. I also liked Elton John around that time, and he had a writing partner. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. I started writing songs around then for my own amusement, my neighbor's amusement. We wrote songs together, and I made tapes. It just so happened I called one of the tapes the Dead Milkmen, because I long story short, I had a newsletter that I mimeographed at the library, and it was a fake fan club. Yeah, well, this was 1979. And it was a Dead Milkmen fan club newsletter making fun of fan clubs in general. Just making fun of all the music business, what I knew of it anyway, living in the suburbs, reading Cream, Rolling Stone, and that stuff. I was making fun of the music business. And I liked punk then, too, when I heard the Ramones, when I heard the Sex Pistols. I liked that stuff. So it all came together. The late 70s, early 80s I still think was a great time for new music.
Yeah, no doubt.
All kinds of new music.
That's awesome.
Blondie, Dead Boys.
Velvet Underground.
Velvet Underground. They were from the '60s, but I just found out about them in the '70s. I was late to the party like everybody else, but they were another big influence. Lou Reed. All this stuff is good, and it's just like everywhere I turn, David Bowie is there. There is something else that I had to become obsessed about. It just never ended.
And I think that's such a cool thing. I don't know if it's sort of. I think it's sort of lost a little bit now. I mean, it's so much easier to access music now because you can put in the Dead Milkmen, and then all of a sudden it's like all the acts that sound like the Dead Milkmen or whatever.
And you take it for granted, right? I mean, you don't have the thrill of going and looking through Tower Records' obscure selection in the back and saying, "I found this and nobody else has it." Now everybody has access to everything, and it doesn't mean as much. Do you kind of feel like things are more watered down?
It's faster to get to there, but you're right. In a way, it made the reward all that much sweeter when you had to save up your pennies till you can afford Hunky Dory or something like that. And then, wow, what a great album once you got it.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like that's lost.
Like now, you would probably know all those songs instantly because you just put it on your Spotify or your Amazon, and there it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
Sadly,
you're
correct.
Some of it's cool, some of it's... I don't know. I can't imagine what it's like for young people who have that taken for granted, who take that for granted.
I mean, I've tried to explain it to my kids, and I just got a blank stare back. Like, they can't even imagine, like, the caveman days of having to drudge out in the snow on a Tuesday when new albums came out. And I remember I skipped school to get the new Iron Maiden album, Seventh Son, when I was, like, in 10th grade. And I knew, like, we were there at 8 in the morning, the guy at the record store, we bribed him to go buy us a bottle of Crown Royal. And we were the first people to listen to that album in our school, and we were like kings that day. I was like, we are the first guys with our Crown Royal listening to this new Iron Maiden album, and it meant something. And it just made the CD smell a lot better and everything about it. Like, I could still remember opening that CD and smelling it and drinking Crown Royal at Becky Edwards' house and listening to Iron Maiden. And I think those memories are lost now to kids, and I think that's a sad thing.
I remember that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, let me shift gears.
Yeah, you can't smell the MP3.
No.
You can't smell the MP3. That's our quote of the night. You definitely cannot smell the MP3. All right, let me switch gears here, Joe. I want to ask you this because I read a couple different reviews, and one thing that kind of irked me is you guys were described as a satirical punk band. And I felt like that was a little unfair. Like, it almost seems like you don't take the music seriously. And I hate labels to start with. How do you feel when your band is labeled this way or that way, or does it have zero impact on how you think about anything?
A satirical punk band?
Yeah, I mean, does that label...
I guess we take it as a compliment. Because it means we're funny. We were trying to be funny on purpose, at least back in the old days. We were.
Did that have any impact on how...
We wanted them to laugh with us, though.
Yeah, a lot of bands...
If they laughed at us, they're still laughing.
But a lot of those punk bands like Black Flag and Minor Threat, like, they had very serious tones to them. And people, especially in the D.C. area where we grew up at, like, were you accepted among your peers, or were you kind of isolated?
TV Party's kind of funny. They were funny people. But some people have serious. I think it's harder to have a good serious song than it is to have a funny song. Funny is easier.
Really? See, I would think it would be harder because you've got to have such a clever take on things.
Maybe, but the cleverness is a crutch for, or not a crutch, but a cover.
Mm.
And in fact, our songs are serious. Even
that's what I was saying.
Still serious.
Right. That's why I felt like it was a little bit unfair, kind of having that label thrown on you. And I just like, when you're thinking back to those beginning days, if you're interacting with punk bands who have this dead serious persona, are you guys accepted, or are you a little bit kind of like marginalized or isolated from the scene because you're doing something so different in that time period?
I think we are accepted by the people that count.
Cool.
There was a little bit of both, but everyone's going to find that no matter what they do.
Right. That's true. That Odell, what do you got?
No, I know. Sort of bouncing off of that, were there any moments like when, like the I wouldn't say the sarcasm, but there was a few songs that probably in there that maybe plucked some people's nerves the wrong way. Were there any moments where you went to play a show and there was a particular group that were maybe took offense to some of the things that you said that maybe were like, okay, we don't find it too funny?
Yeah, people don't get the joke, or people don't like the joke. There was in the early 80s we had that. We had some radio stations say we're banning you because you're racist. We're not racist.
Wow.
Or you're homophobic.
Oh my God.
We're definitely not homophobic. We're racist.
Right.
I mean, everybody maybe have a little racism in them, but I think we went out of our way to. I mean, that's the danger of satire anyway.
Yeah.
People don't realize it's satire. The band FUs that we name drop in Tiny Town did a whole album that was satire that the racist in Tiny Town just took at face value. They said, we don't like punks, but we love the FUs.
Nice.
The song inverts on itself. It's satire. It has satire within satire.
There you go.
Let me ask you this, because you guys had such a recognizable career back those first 4 or 5 albums, and then you guys break up, and I've read several things that said it was due to commercialism and label problems, and I know in the punk scene especially there's this ongoing argument of can you become more commercial and not kind of sacrifice your roots or sacrifice your message. Did commercialism originally kill the Dead Milkmen, or is that story kind of blown out of proportion?
I think it's blown out of proportion because it's not really true from my point of view inside the band. We wanted to be successful in a commercial way. We decided when we were starting out, because that one of our goals was that, hey, maybe we can make a living, do this, let's do it, let's make a living and tour. I think what actually happened was we were successful to a certain extent, but the more successful you become in the music industry, the more successful the industry expects you to continue to be. They always want you to be better, or the next album to do better than the one before it. And if it doesn't do better, it's a failure, which didn't make sense to us at the time. Right. It didn't make sense to me when we would put out, and we had, our trajectory was, we were on a upward swing from the first album to the fourth album. We kept selling them. The first album kept selling and selling and selling while we put out the second album, third album. The first album kept selling and we sold more of the second album, etc. And the fourth album was a big one. So the record company, Enigma Records at the time, had great expectations for the fifth album, which weren't met, and that's where things became a little slippery and we started to fall in their eyes. And then the sixth album was with a totally different type of company. It was Hollywood Records that really wanted to get their money they wanted their investment back really quickly. It wasn't, if we had known at the time before signing with them, we probably would never even have signed with them. They gave us complete commercial, what do you call it, artistic control over everything. And we did the album that we wanted to do, but it wasn't really probably the album they wanted to sell or they could sell in a quick amount of time. So they just gave us the boot because we didn't push enough units by Christmas or whatever the date was that they had to reach the goal. And our attitude was, well, it would be a slow seller, but just let it be in the catalog and you'll eventually make your money back, because this is something that it's different than our stuff, but our previous stuff, but eventually enough people are going to get to like it and just give it a chance. But that's not the way the music industry works. But now we are the music industry of our band. We don't have to deal with anybody else's expectations.
Wow, that is an incredibly intense
Unbelievable.
Story. Let me ask you this, because, I guess, let me kind of summarize. I guess what you're saying is it wasn't the fan base that kind of dropped off because of the success. No. It was the business putting pressure on you and just kind of writing you off.
I think we always had a core fan base that kept up with us all along. Yeah, it's true. We had some peripheral fans, or we had some fans that didn't like that album, or maybe didn't even like Metaphysical, or maybe only bought Beelzebubba because they saw Punk Rock Girl on MTV, and that was it.
Right.
And they were never going to buy the next album unless it had another thing on MTV or was just as cool, or maybe it wasn't for them at the time.
And that's how it always. I mean, that's how it is.
That's how it is. It's tough to be a band. There aren't many bands that just consistently have hit on every album that they make.
Yep.
We could have kept going and made a living with our band after 1995, but we decided as a whole it wasn't what we wanted to do anymore. We were tired of the touring. We didn't make it. We weren't getting into any bigger levels where we could make faster money and not be out on the road 3/4 of the year. That's where we kind of plateaued at that level where you had to be on the road most of the time to make a living.
When having an incident like that, when having an experience like that, does that make you bitter towards the business, and then you kind of want to strip down and go back to square one?
It made me think that we should have always been doing it ourselves from day one, which could have happened but didn't. We made a decision to sign with a label rather than invest in our own production. But at the same time, who knows what would have happened if we tried it on our own.
Yeah, you can't.
We might not have been publicized as much either.
Yeah, true that. All right, we got to wrap this up here in a minute, but I do want to kind of talk to you about what led to the reformation of the Dead Milkmen, and specifically, once you're back with the Dead Milkmen, how hard is it to kind of fall back into place with the songs? Does it feel different after 13 years? Or is it just like reuniting with an old friend and it clicks immediately? What's that process like after 13 years of jumping back into Dead Milkmen and doing it all over again?
We got an offer that was really good from a guy named Graham in Austin, Texas, to play Fun Fest, which is a huge festival they have in November.
Yeah.
And Graham actually was a singing voice on Metaphysical Graffiti. When he was a kid, he was in the kid choir that sings on the opening track.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Graham Williams, and now he's a big music promoter. He convinced us to get back together, and we figured it would be a one-time thing. Relearning the songs was amazing fun for me. It was like it was a surreal experience because I didn't remember most of them. And I was like, did I really write this? Did we write this? We have some crazy chord patterns that I don't remember coming up with these things. And some of the things are songs that Dave came up with to begin with, or some that Dean. So it was interesting. I remember going online and looking up chord or tabs or stuff for our songs and realizing they're all completely wrong. I don't know who writes these things. What?
Whoa.
And it was fun. The guy that took Dave's place taught me some of the songs again. He knew them better than I did. That's Dan Stevens. He did a great job. So, and 2008 actually wasn't even the first time we relearned the songs, but 2004 was.
Right.
But you did a few reunion shows too, right?
Yeah, we did in 2004.
Yeah.
So that was the first reunion, and that I think is what made Graham think that we could do it, even though Dave passed away.
Yeah.
Together. So we did, and we love that experience. Fun.
So do you feel like this is it? You're back in Dead Milkmen, moving forward, and I mean, are you guys going to put out some new music? I know you put an album out last year, and it's incredible. I've been listening to it obsessively again since getting geared up for this. Do you guys plan on to just keep pumping out albums and keep doing the Dead Milkmen thing, or are you going to try to pursue solo stuff a little bit? Oh, I think we lost Joe. Odell?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. I believe we did.
Oh, he was on Skype, and I think we lost him.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, and I doubt we're going to be able to get him back because we're past our mark. All right, I guess we will kind of end there then. Send Joe a message and thank him for us. Tell him he won't be able to Skype back in. So there you have it, Odell. I didn't get to everything I wanted to get to, but I think it was an amazing interview. And
do you ever?
Man,
yeah.
No, of course not, because I could talk for 10 hours, because that's just the way I'm hardwired.
Yeah. There was so much more that we could have probably gotten into, but that was awesome. That was really awesome just to hear, a lot of the stuff that you read, that he, actually clarified and things, because you're talking about a band that's been through it. They've definitely been through it. So.
Yeah, and just to be able to hear that history firsthand, that was an incredible thing to me.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it was. Unbelievable.
Cool.
And the fact that
go ahead, Odell.
Now, I was just saying the music now, like you said, Pretty Music for Pretty People, incredible. That's an incredible album. I don't know how many people have realized that they have, they put out 2 albums since 2011, but I would definitely, highly recommend checking them out because they're still doing what they do, and it's really, really good.
By the way, Jamie and Elizabeth just messaged us and said, great interview and that you were awesome, Odell. I'm probably just annoying with my nasally voice. Oh, Joe's back. Okay, hold on. Let me get in here because I want to finish up this interview.
We got him.
Joe, we lost you for a second.
Yeah.
All good.
My fault.
Oh, no, you're cool.
No, thank you for coming back on, man.
Yeah.
We were about to wrap it up anyways. I just kind of wanted to talk about the new album and where you guys are going from here.
Yeah, we did probably played more shows than we've ever played last year to promote the new album, Pretty Music for Pretty People. Yeah. And now we're taking a little break. I'm going on a solo tour down south, February, March, and we are in the thinking stages of yet another album. So it will be probably our third.
Joe, are you coming to Baltimore anytime soon?
And
I thought I saw that.
Yeah, I am.
February?
Is that where you are in Baltimore?
Yeah, I live in Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
So I definitely want to check it out.
Yep, Metro Gallery, February 24th.
Wait, hold on. All righty, Joe, I want to thank you so much for calling in. This was an absolute delight. Please tell everybody your various social media platforms where people can find you and look up everything you're working on.
Yeah, jacktalcum.com is a website, and you can get my email address there. There's joseph.genaro at Gmail, and that's Google, Google+, and that's about it.
All right.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. I hope you have a good New Year's, and we look forward to hearing from you next year, Joe. Thank you very much for calling in.
No, thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All righty, there we go. Okay, I'm glad I got him back so we can at least find out everything that's coming up with them. We got just a minute left. Odell, do you have anything you want to say out the door? Because I'm about to actually play some low budgets because I'm fairly obsessed with this song.
I thought I saw that they were playing in Baltimore. I thought I saw he was playing in Baltimore on the 24th of February. So I am going to definitely check it out, and I'm gonna try to get some pictures with them and send them to you, Nick. And
nice. I'll put them on the archive page, or I'll put them on the Facebook page, probably up on there.
Awesome.
One more time, do you want to tell everybody about Spike's show, Sewage's show in the Bronx? Or is it Brooklyn?
I sure will. It is in Brooklyn. So if anybody is in the Brooklyn area tomorrow evening, you should definitely head on down there. It is over at Grand Victory. That's at 245 Green Street. And there will be Sewage. There will be Ted's Dead. There will be the Rats, the Cuts, and the Drugettes, as well as it looks like they will have some PBR, and Shaw Promotion is helping out there, so maybe you can get some swag while you're at it.
Nice. We'll be back the 13th with the cosplay band Songhammer, and then we will be back with Steve E. Nicks from the Briefs. That's a band, that is a band that had a huge impact on me, too. Man, we are so damn lucky to be able to interview so many people that have had such an impact on my creative process.
Dude, it's so awesome, man. This is, like I told you, man, this is so cool.
All right.
Like Chris Farley right now.
I want to wish everybody a happy New Year's from Ignorance Equation Radio. Joe has had, I don't think they're still playing regularly, but I think he said he's still doing shows with them. But a side band called The Low Budgets he plays keyboards on. I want to play this song because The Low Budgets, I just kind of discovered them when I started researching the show. These guys are mind-bendingly incredible. I love these guys. So let's end the show with Wipe My Ass with the World by The Low Budgets. I hope everybody has a safe and awesome New Year's, and we will see you guys next year. Bye, guys.
All right, brother.